I'm the leader of this team. I'm the head coach of this team. So I'll take the responsibility for the last 2 nights not playing up to the competitive disposition that we should be playing with, especially defensively. That will be addressed as a group, and we will get better, but that wasn't what we need to be, what our standards were, and we have to own that, and we have to look at ourselves, and we have to get better.
It didn't take long for another NBA team to reach a level of incompetence worse than last year's Detroit Pistons, who were historically bad with a record for the most losses in a season. Last year, Detroit participated in what was dubbed No-Win November and extended their losing streak into December. Ironically, the Washington Wizards have managed to outdo them this year, going on a staggering 16-game losing streak, broken only by a narrow win over a depleted Denver Nuggets team missing 5 key players. The Wizards are on pace to win an abysmal 10 to 12 games this season, an even worse projection than many expected. The roster was clearly not built to contend, let alone reach the playoffs. Their so-called stars, Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, are lackluster leaders, with Poole averaging 20 points per game and Kuzma managing only 15. These numbers are underwhelming, especially for the supposed top players on the team. Jordan Poole's story is a poignant example of how context can define a player's career. In Golden State, he thrived as a key contributor, gaining recognition for his scoring bursts and clutch performances. However, his move to Washington has drastically changed his trajectory. While his individual stats, such as averaging 20 points per game, suggest he is performing adequately, these numbers ring hollow in the context of a team that cannot win games. Poole's contributions now feel isolated and lack the impact they had in a structured, competitive environment like Golden State. The shift has not only affected Poole's visibility, but also his overall value as a player. In Washington, his performances are no longer tied to meaningful wins or playoff pushes, making him a largely forgotten figure in league-wide discussions. His potential as a player is being wasted in an environment where his contributions are not part of a larger cohesive effort. This loss of relevance is particularly tragic for a player who once seemed poised for a bright and impactful career. Poole's struggles in Washington are emblematic of a deeper misalignment between his skills and the team's needs. His ability to thrive as a third or fourth option on a contending team contrasts sharply with his current role as a primary scorer on a dysfunctional roster. This misfit highlights the Wizards' broader inability to construct a team where players' strengths complement one another, instead leaving Poole isolated as a high-volume scorer with little to show for it. Adding to the complexity of his situation is the length of his 4-year contract, which ties him to a team with little hope of immediate improvement. Without a trade or a significant organizational overhaul, Poole risks spending the prime of his career in obscurity. This stagnation is not only detrimental to him as an individual, but also indicative of a franchise that seems unable to leverage its assets effectively. Kyle Kuzma's tenure with the Wizards has been a series of missed opportunities and unmet expectations. Once heralded as a player with the potential to be a cornerstone for the franchise, injuries have hampered his ability to contribute meaningfully. Early in the season, he missed games due to a groin injury, and a rib injury sidelined him again later. These recurring setbacks have not only limited his on-court impact, but also exposed the lack of depth in Washington's roster, as the team struggled mightily in his absence. Even when healthy, Kuzma's role as the team's second option highlights a significant miscalculation by the Wizards' front office. His inconsistent performances and relatively modest averages underscore his unsuitability for a leadership role on a rebuilding team. Kuzma is a solid rotational player with the potential to contribute effectively on a contending team, but expecting him to carry a struggling franchise was always an overreach. His inability to live up to these unrealistic expectations has only magnified the Wizards' larger structural issues. This misstep is not just a reflection of Kuzma's limitations, but also of the organization's flawed approach to roster building. The Wizards' decision to position Kuzma as a key piece of their rebuild speaks to a lack of understanding of his strengths and weaknesses. This misalignment has not only hindered his career development, but also stalled the team's progress, leaving them without a clear sense of direction or purpose. Kuzma's trade value has also diminished, further complicating the Wizards' ability to reshape their roster. While he might find success as a role player on a competitive team, his current situation has eroded his perceived value across the league. This creates yet another obstacle for a franchise already struggling to regain relevance in a highly competitive environment. The Wizards' decision to select Alexander Sarr with the second overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft was intended to signal a new era for the franchise. As a highly touted prospect, prospect, Sarr entered the league with considerable fanfare and the expectation that he could become a cornerstone player. Unfortunately, his performance has failed to meet these lofty expectations. Struggles in the summer league foreshadowed his difficulties in the regular season, where his inefficiency on offense and lackluster defense have become glaring weaknesses. Sarr's decision to decline a pre-draft workout with the Atlanta Hawks in favor of joining the Wizards has raised questions about his judgment and the organization's ability to provide a supportive environment for his development. While he may have viewed Washington as a better opportunity for immediate playing time, the team's dysfunction has only exacerbated his challenges. His poor shooting percentages, defensive lapses, and inability to adapt to the NBA level have left him struggling to find his footing. The disappointment surrounding Sarr's performance is not solely his responsibility. The Wizards' failure to create an environment conducive to developing young talent has played a significant role in his struggles. Their inability to surround him with complementary pieces or provide the necessary mentorship has left him isolated, both on and off the court. This lack of support is indicative of a franchise that seems ill-equipped to nurture its own prospects. This situation also casts doubt on the Wizards' broader strategy for rebuilding. While other struggling teams have used high draft picks to build a foundation for future success, Washington's mishandling of Sarr's development suggests a deeper organizational dysfunction. Without significant changes, the team risks wasting not only Sarr's potential, but also the opportunities presented by future draft picks. The Wizards' problems are not confined to individual players, but extend to the entire organization. From poor roster construction to a lack of clear vision, the team's systemic issues have created a culture of dysfunction. Outside of a few promising prospects, the roster lacks depth, cohesion, and the talent necessary to compete at the NBA level. This has resulted in a team that not only loses games, but does so in a manner that offers little hope for improvement. The absence of a coherent team identity is particularly damaging. While other struggling teams have at least shown flashes of potential, the Wizards appear directionless. This lack of vision not only impacts the players, but also alienates the fan base, which has little reason to remain invested in a franchise that offers no clear path forward. Leadership, or the lack thereof, is another critical issue. The Wizards' inability to foster accountability or inspire confidence in their vision has created a culture of mediocrity. This systemic failure has stifled player development and left the team unable to attract the type of talent necessary for meaningful progress. Ultimately, the Wizards' plight reflects a broader organizational failure that will require significant intervention to address. Whether through changes in leadership, a reevaluation of their strategy, or both, the team must take decisive action to break the cycle of mediocrity and rebuild trust with both players and fans. The future for the Washington Wizards looks as bleak as their present. While they are likely to secure a high pick in the next NBA draft, even the addition of a top-tier prospect may not be enough to reverse their fortunes. The unpredictability of the draft lottery further complicates their outlook, as there is no guarantee they will land the player they need to build around. Even with a potential star player, the Wizards face significant challenges in developing and retaining talent. The organization's reputation as a dysfunctional franchise will make it difficult to attract free agents or retain promising players. This creates a vicious cycle in which even the most talented additions are unable to thrive due to the team's systemic issues. The suggestion of relocation or expansion reflects the depth of the Wizards' problems. A move to a city like Las Vegas, while drastic, could provide a fresh start and an opportunity to rebuild the franchise's identity. While this may seem like an extreme solution, it underscores the lack of confidence in the Wizards' ability to succeed under their current structure. For now, the Wizards remain a cautionary tale for NBA franchises. Without significant changes at every level of the organization, they risk becoming a perennial bottom dweller in a league that continues to grow more competitive. The road to redemption will be long and arduous, requiring a commitment to change that has so far been absent. If you enjoyed this talk about how bad the Wizards are, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.